Game on, everybody! We have our first map in the series between Bulgaria and SWE, the Swedish... Oh, sorry, the Soviet War Elite, aka Sweden. So yeah, they're memeing around a little bit. We're in Northern Isles, and down to the bottom of the map we have our first Undead player. In this case, it is actually LexLuther, and all the way up to the top right for a Swedish team we have the Frog himself. MadFrog is rocking this one. And this is part of a clan war, so if you guys are interested in finding out a little bit more about the league, finding out a little bit more about WarCraft 3, and also checking out some replays, builds, and a ton of fantastic articles, then just head over to warcraft3.info and have a look at that. We're gonna dive a bit into Warcraft 3 here today again and just have a slight look of what's going on in the scene there. And this is actually a pretty good clan match for sure. So we have a couple of Night Elf versus Undeads today. We're having an Orc versus Orc, and we are also looking at some UD versus EUD, as you can see right here. So obviously Undead versus Undead, there's a couple of ways on how you can approach it. We've seen Lich first, we are seeing Death Knight first quite a bit as well, depending on the playstyle that you're going for. In this case we actually have LexLuther going straight for a Lich first build and sending out the early scout on the map with the Acolyte, whereas MadFrog starts with the Lich as well. So going to heavily spec into the Nova here later on to get the area of effect damage out. We're also going to talk about a couple of basics. Has been a month or two since I casted the last Warcraft 3 game, and since I assume that not all of my viewers are quite familiar with Warcraft 3 as a game, again we're going to go over some of the very specific and a couple of the things that are unique to the game compared to other RTS, like let's say StarCraft 2 for example. But we're going to home in on that a bit later. Most of the people obviously already know that in Warcraft 3 you have heroes that you play with, so it's not all about units, it's much more of a focus on heroes in general, trying to level them up. And this is actually where a lot of Dota originated. Dota was originally a mod for Warcraft 3, and well, there's the shop. So that means that with that you can get the first items. And if you're playing Undead, one of the most important items to go for is the Rod of Necromancy for exactly this reason. You kill a couple of sheep on the map, and with one charge of the Rod you're able to get your skeletons out, and then you can attack right here. You need to be a little bit careful even that you don't attack with the skeletons first, so that little fella there is going to purge one of your skeletons right away. So also the creeps have abilities. We're getting a couple of items in this case, and we have a Ring of Protection for LexLuther as the first one. In the meantime, MadFrog is going balls out here right away. Tusker Trappers are being attacked by him. He's not going to waste any time with those pesky small camps on the map. No. And sweet, he has the meatballs, and he is going straight in to try and get a little bit of value out of that. Better item for him, therefore. Scroll of the Beast. And on top of that, he gets more experience for his Lich as well. So gets this one a little bit quicker. Has to, of course, also be careful. I mean, if this gets scouted and he gets actually creep checked, then he is in a ton of trouble. But at the same time, we have now the Tuskers taken on the left side too, so both of them are going straight for that MadFrog a little bit faster, a bit of a different creep route for him. But with that now said, we're having the Trapper fall on the other side, and as an item, we're actually getting a Scroll of the Beast as well. This is one of the big differences, that especially item luck can really decide games, and this is something that Blizzard has started to adjust, or to just to address a little bit in patches. So oftentimes it's not as much of an impact anymore as it was in the past, but it can still make a huge difference in certain matchups when someone gets extremely lucky. And especially, for example, a Scroll of the Beast can empower you to go for a certain timing push that you would just not be able to use earlier unless you have that item, because it gives you a huge power spike. Roughly the same way that if you're playing human and you find a Potion of Greater Mana, you have an opportunity to actually be a bit more aggressive around level 2 water elementals, just simply because you will have the added advantage over your opponent. In Warcraft 3, what's really important is also that you're trying to deny your own minions or own units to an opponent. So you're always going to see self-kills on certain units just to deny experience. Like, everything centers around experience here. Dark Ritual already being used by LexLuther here. Needs to be a little bit cautious though, because MadFrog is currently getting a lot of free damage onto him. In the main base, in the meantime, Graveyard coming in. We have also the Necropolis tech starting up here. Lich is still fine, but as you can see, heavily damaged. And we're having in the base also an Nerubian Tower just to be on the safe side. If you have the opponent's Lich is trying to sneak in and get some damage to, that's always a bit of an issue here. But over to the right side, MadFrog now trying to steal a couple of the camps away from his opponent. And when it comes to items, you can see that he himself has already bought himself the Boots of Speed as well. And, as Nov is currently pointing out, we are actually seeing a Lightning Shield. And that's always a problem for exactly this particular reason. You get a Ghoul, you get some AoE damage in, and you start to take down your opponent's hit points pretty quickly, especially when they go for a surround. You send a Nova after it, and all that AoE damage that you see there is going to do an absolute number on your opponent. And that's something that's very transparent with LexLuther's Lich here, since the Nova has also hit him quite hard, and that is without level 3 on any side. So we haven't really seen MadFrog with level 3 yet either. He's actually even behind in experience at this point. So at this point, LexLuther is going for the Death Knight as his second hero, and as you can imagine, we're going to see that second hero coming in for MadFrog in just a little bit as well. Over here though, MadFrog still moving away. And in the main base, we're actually having him with gargoyles, as is being pointed out there too. And gargoyles in general are actually absolutely down MadFrog's alley. He loves to play with gargs. It's not something that you see against Undead too often, just simply because with a good Nova on a high level, you can damage them very efficiently. But also, once your opponent goes into Fiends with the web, we can lock them down quite nicely. But MadFrog has always been the Garg Master. He's not quite going XLord 5.0 here, as we've seen in the German scene for a long time. But he's definitely someone who prefers to play with gargoyles. He is someone that doesn't really enjoy playing Fiends, and that is actually very visible also on his own stream here. Gets a level 3 as well. And as we can also observe in the main base, still pumping those out of the double crypt. Question in this case is always, when exactly is your opponent picking up on that? Because at this point, LexLuther doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have the foggiest. He's going into a slaughterhouse, he's playing a more traditional style, adding the Black Citadel here. Whereas we're seeing not even a second hero yet on the side of MadFrog. So he's already moving around on the map, still hiding here though, but is willing to show the Gargs and try and address the possible Acolyte line here of his opponent to try and get a bit of additional damage out. So by now, knows that the Gargoyles are in. MadFrog with 1 Nova has 128 mana for this. 34, by the way, currently on his on the supply. 39 for LexLuther. And while we're having actually the Gargoyles currently doing their thing, and probably Web, there's the first Fiend already coming in, research in a bit, let's just talk real quickly about one of the biggest differences between WarCraft 3 and StarCraft 2 outside of heroes and items in the game. Something that's actually huge is the supply numbers and the way that they work in the game. Nice attack against the Worker line though, good kill against the Acolyte. Doesn't have a Staff of Teleportation in the inventory and therefore has to actually use the Town Portal here. Gets only 1 Acolyte for his efforts, so not quite sure if that was really worth it. Definitely bought a little bit of time, but that was all that he got for his troubles. Coming back to the supply numbers though, so until the point where you are at 50 supply, you don't pay any income, like any tax on your gold income, so to say. But once you're actually crossing over into 51 supply up to 70, you are in the low income, and that means that at this point you're actually having to pay a little bit. You're getting 30% less out of the gold income that you receive from the gold mine. And once you're going even higher, once you're crossing the 80 supply threshold, that drops down even further. So it's really oftentimes the case that you see a player staying at 50 supply, trying to mass a huge amount of money, invest into a couple of additional production structures, and then just pump out the units all the quicker to try and make up for that. And this is something where you can also exploit if you're taking those structures down quickly. So there's a couple of plays around that, and it's different from each race in WarCraft 3, but it's definitely something to keep in mind here as we are progressing through the game. The Blue Drake taken down at the top. Oh, Warsong Battle Drums. Great aura item. That's always hitting the jackpot. If you get a good aura item for your army, that's absolutely fantastic. MadFrog is still playing it with a solo Lich, which also means that experience that he gets now is not distributed between several heroes, but it is all accumulated on only 1 hero, and that's the Lich, so his Lich is already level 4, whereas we're seeing on the other side the double Lich, now the level 2 Death Knight, has of course the Unholy Aura here, and on top of that now also the Warsong Battle Drums, so a fantastic setup that we have in this game. And this is also pretty fantastic. With the Potion of Invisibility, we're seeing MadFrog sneak into the Worker line in the back. And as a hit, there should be a Nova any second. That's 1 Acolyte down, and he's trying to make plays for more. has the Staff of Teleportation this time too, which means he has an easy time to escape to his own base. Death Knight is coming in for him as well. And he's also going to get the Orb of Corruption pretty soon. Does have the money. Doesn't get it yet, but Orb of Corruption is another one of these items that is pretty much necessary if you're playing Undead. It's one of the best items in the race-specific pool. Now one of the statues actually gets caught on the map, but the problem is that the Lich is already in, and there we see that Orb of Corruption in play as we have LexLuther starting to get some damage out with that too. And he is currently still doing a great job with this creep pattern. Hasn't really had any trouble so far on the map yet. The statue was bit of an issue, and he's getting just item after item right now. That includes, amongst other things, now also the Ring of Protection +3 that we just got. 46 supply against 43. MadFrog again with the attempt to harass. He's probably going to get the stone form for his gargoyles soon as well. Yep, already in production right here. Needs that to make sure that they are that he can use them a bit longer. And again, the problem is still the same. If you're playing gargoyles, they are very vulnerable. They are absolutely annoying. They're really a nuisance. But what we're trying to do is, in particular, harass your opponent to death. It's just death by 1,000 needle pins. That's pretty much what gargoyles are all about. And you need to make sure that you don't lose a lot of them when you're playing that particular style. And that is something that MadFrog is usually very good at. But so far, LexLuther hasn't really taken any serious damage from this. Armor types in WarCraft 3 also highly important. Piercing damage, which comes from the Spirit Tower here against the unarmored gargoyles, is fantastic. One Garg down, second one falling, third one getting coiled by the Death Knight just to try and keep him safe. And here comes the Town Portal as the Lich comes in too. But MadFrog is currently not having a good game. 43 supply for him. Same supply numbers roughly for his opponent, but only 2 of those acolytes have been taken down. And things are looking really good for LexLuther. He has a level 4 Lich, he has a level 4 Death Knight. He's already ahead when it comes to experience on the 2 heroes. He's looking great when it comes to items too, simply because he has that additional Warsong Battle Drums. Is playing now for the second Blue Drake. And the one thing that is lacking is a Town Portal. So if he actually gets creepjacked, he will have to face the music. But at this point, he's looking quite powerful here. 48 supply for him, 43 for MadFrog. And MadFrog's big problem is that he's just not making a difference right now with those guards. There's the second aura. Oh my god. Ancient Jank of Endurance. So TC aura, Kodo aura. It's just too much. And for his efforts, MadFrog, he gets a Book of the Dead, but that just doesn't even compare to what we're seeing on the other side here. Fantastic setup for LexLuther. Triple aura, including the Death Knight's very own. That is absolutely fantastic here for him. And that Acolyte play that we saw from MadFrog so far didn't work out. Loses another ghoul at this point. Tillerman would be proud, since we all know everybody loses ghouls now and then. There's also, obviously, another sentry ward here from MadFrog, so he has a bit of vision what's happening on the map. No one has gone for an expansion yet either. Like, usually comes quite late in Undead Miro. Either you go for a super fast expansion, which is kind of rare, or you're going for a very late one, if at all. But right now, that Lich is griefing. The Lich is running it down mid and goes down as well. Staff of Teleportation not used. Misplay by MadFrog for sure. Looks very, very much like the Lich might have been stuck on an auto attack command and has stayed in place or wasn't part of the group. So definitely a little bit of a mechanical mistake here on his part. Sees it too late, loses the Lich, and that is the cue right away for LexLuther to go in. Adds also the Alchemist as the third hero as that comes in. Alchemist great against gargoyles, so he has a full anti-gargoyle setup right now with a ton of fiends. Has taken out one of the crypts and is homing in on the second. LexLuther with a fantastic sack up, went into the low upkeep 2, sitting at 57 right now. MadFrog trying to poke again, bought the Lich at the tavern, but this is still looking rough. He's down in supply. Here comes the Skull of the Beast. At least he's trying to make the play. The Lich is also isolated for just 1 second. Might be able to get a kill right there. Goes for the Fiends instead, and one goes down. But still, MadFrog fighting as much as he can. Has a couple of statuses in the mix, of course, too. Nova comes out against the Death Knight. MadFrog definitely in trouble right now. Needs to retreat with that. Might be able to get that Alchemist on the other side, though. Can't be called, obviously, but he himself, does he still what it's needed? It doesn't look like it. For the time being, the Death Knight is already on level 4, and the triple aura is definitely helping the Undead player in yellow at this point. One quick web after another is coming out, and MadFrog is down to 35 supply against the 48 that we're seeing for the Bulgarian Undead player, who's taking out unit after unit. Another Nova straight into the gargoyles. In comes the damage with the acid spray, and another web is hitting too. Fiend goes down, and this is just an absolute nightmare. Expansion at the bot lane is by now also finished, but at least the ghouls of MadFrog have detected that. That's a nice play here. Acolyte comes in, wants to get the kill against the ghoul, and doesn't get it. That was a close call, but that's going to be a bit of damage. Alright, can he save the ghoul? That's Gary the Ghoul right there, and he's a hero. He fought against the almighty Acolyte, but didn't quite make it. Another Acolyte goes down. So MadFrog definitely starting to be a bit of a pain with this movement. And he has the Boots of Speed, which really helps him to be a bit nimble there. But as you can tell, with all the auras that we're seeing on the Death Knight, that fella is quite quick on his feet and is just simply starting to race it down. Another quick Nova on the other hand. Oh, and the hit against the Alchemist. Nicely done. MadFrog with a big kill here. Level 5 now for the Lich. But again, there's the counter Nova. And now level 5 also for LexLuther. Having this much aura focus is just a little bit too tricky. I mean, seriously, that's decay on the other side. It's an absolute race car. And now we're having a necropolis being built and also another haunted gold mine up to the top left. Obviously, LexLuther definitely knows right now that he is far, far ahead, especially after the last fight. MadFrog has by no means even started to catch up in the supply. He's currently sitting at 27 against 47 supply. There's basically just one base after another being built. And obviously, the Undead player from Bulgaria is very much so in the know that his base at the bottom right, or in the middle, is going to be attacked the entire time here. So he's just building up another one to the top left. And MadFrog just doesn't have any idea that this is there right now. There's another potential kill. The Death Knight goes down. You can chase 6 days to Sunday if you have these items. And this first game is just not looking pretty for MadFrog whatsoever. So once again, they're starting to move in. Shades are now in play as well. MadFrog is in trouble. He's down to 22 supply right now. Is still harvesting gold. Still trying to obviously get his production structures back into play too. That was another problem that he had to face there earlier. But with this set down to the bottom of the map now, once again, we're having just a little bit of vision. Not really much more than that. Lich is already on the run. If they at any point get a lock on him and get the Nova in for the slow, then he is definitely dead meat too. And now as he moves up top side, MadFrog actually finds out that he doesn't only deal with one base, he does actually deal, one expansion, he deals with another one too. And it seems like we're going to have another one built in just a moment as well. At least the Acolyte is hanging around. And this guy might get out barely. Yeah, and he does. But is that really going to change things? That's a big question at this point. So once again, MadFrog with 34 supply, desperately trying to somehow just get those hits in one after another, but as I said, it is unlikely that it's going to make too much of an impact. Let's have a quick look at the main base. 3,300 gold still available here. We're also having more creeping now going on the side of LexLuther, who has, amongst other things now, Claws of Attack +6. Makes sure that he has enough wood by getting a Goblin. And that's actually pretty fantastic, because now that he gets the Goblin too, I mean, he is already sitting at really good numbers for gold, but with the Goblin Shredder here, that is going to even increase. Lich is in trouble, and that should be the end of him, to be honest with you, because thanks to the Death Knight being... No! Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's the Death Knight. Yeah, that guy is going to catch up with him eventually. Boots or no boots, that doesn't even matter anymore. Yeah, there's another big hit coming in from the acid spray, and one hit simply should take this down. There, on the other hand, is the DK on the other side, so that at least helps him slightly. Keeps him in play a little bit longer. Body blocks are coming in too, so nice. Lich is going to make it out of it. That would have definitely been the death blow here for MadFrog, but he's trying to stay in the game by now also sending the gargoyles down to the bottom of the map. Again, you're trying to be a pain in the ass when you're playing gargoyles. It's just what you do. It's pretty much your job description. Gargoyles, when they come out of the crypt, the voice line is, "Hi, I'm a gargoyle. I'm supposed to be a pain in the ass. Did you order me?" And that's how they're playing their style here. So one Acolyte after another falls. Problem just is, once that the heroes appear, you know you're in trouble. Garg goes down, that's the end of him, and still the attempt to go towards the top left. So MadFrog is basically playing expansion ping pong right now. Top left, bottom right, the entire time just attempting to get a few additional hits in and kill one Acolyte after another. The problem is simply that once the defense is set up for his opponent, this is pretty much a no-go. Honestly, at this point, MadFrog can't really win the game anymore unless LexLuther fucks up royally. That's pretty much what we're looking at right now. I mean, it's 48 supplies, so still no upkeep for LexLuther. He's playing with triple hero that are just extremely powerful. Level 5, level 4, and level 2. He has a double base outside of his main base, where there's still 2,000 gold. And as time continues, I mean, the Death Knight even falls, but as time continues, the main problem that we're seeing here is really that MadFrog will run out of gold. He doesn't have an expansion himself, and the more these bases are secured by Spirit Towers and Nerubian Towers, the less of an impact those attacks are going to have either. I mean, just look at the setup here. There's a double Fiend now too, so the Gargoyles can't even run around. Burrow is an upgrade that I'm still missing on the side of LexLuther. I think that would actually be great for him. There's a Shade obviously in play as well, so you have to consider for that. He knows that too, so probably one of the reasons why we don't see Burrow make an impact just yet. But as time continues, he is just going to have a massive advantage when it comes to money. And he's just taking the Gargoyles down one after another. Up to the top, there's still 2 Acolytes in. He's producing a couple of more, as you can see. Triple Spirit Tower right now makes it nearly impossible for MadFrog to make an attack happen there. And MadFrog has to tap out. GG, as LexLuther takes game 1. Game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. MadFrog against LexLuther, and Lex is in the lead. Now again, this is part of a clan war. WarCraft3.info, your best source for Warcraft 3 right now. They host the league as well, and we are going step by step today as we're going from one game to another. Now we're in Twisted, pretty good gargoyle map by the way, just saying, and we have the little rematch. MadFrog had quite a bit of trouble in game number 1, as you could see. First of all, LexLuther started out finding 2 auras, the Warsong Battle Drums and also the ETC Endurance Aura, or the TC Endurance Aura. So that was a huge problem. The first fight didn't go well for him either, losing the Lich just before the battle started to a bit of a mechanical mistake there. Didn't really help his case. So after that, LexLuther he already knew he was far ahead. He traded in so well, resources that were spent, and the only thing that the Undead player from Bulgaria in the yellow had to do was just play it over time, get the expansion up, defend it. And that's exactly what he did there. So now as we're heading into game number 2, scouts are already out on the map. MadFrog has the scout to the bottom left. Both of them are actually going to encounter each other right now. They're definitely going to know where the spawn position is, which is going to really be important here. We have Lich first on both sides again, so no immediate start with Fiends here on either side as we're heading into this second game. This is a best of 3 series, obviously, so at this point MadFrog is going to be determined to win 2 in a row. And he's been playing and streaming a lot. It's actually fantastic to see this many players from the good old days back in the scene right now, and a lot of fun for sure. But with our game here, let's have a bit of a look of how LexLuther presents himself here today. I should actually lean a little bit towards LexLuther. The guy has an impeccable hairstyle. I talked with Maine about it just the other day, and I really appreciate that quite a lot. The guy just has style, and this is something you can't buy, you know? It's like you have it or you don't. And he definitely does. With that said, we're having Liches out on both sides again. Obviously, Rod of Necromancy, name of the game, and that's when you start getting your first experience in. A little bit of scout action going, and just simply, okay, where can we take them down? No sheep around, and that means that you have to try and, well, start this without the first set of skeletons already in play. This is always kind of funny. I mean, we're starting to hunt down sheeps here. In this case, we already have 25 experience for MadFrog as a tiny bit of a lead here, simply because he can take the Acolyte down that was scouting what's going on there. Has therefore also the first 2 skeletons out. A little bit of scouting going on from the Acolyte as well. A little bit too deep even. Attacks the gnomes there. Yeah, gnomes are very, very annoyed when someone invades the territory. But here comes the Gnoll overseer. That bad boy's down. Ooh, claws of attack of 6. That's a good item. That's really what you want to have. I mean, Lich in general, any kind of ranged hero is always heavily benefiting from auto attack items. One other hero, there's a couple of heroes in the game actually that do that. So generally speaking, you want to have the auto attack damage items like claws on your ranged hero. Exceptions are sometimes the Alchemist and also the Blade Master that can heavily benefit from that. Different matchup, of course. But when you're playing an Undead versus Undead and you have, in the beginning of the game, you're finding claws, that's usually a pretty good setup for you. And actually, MadFrog, Talking about setups. Boy, someone is aggressive here. There's the tech, and this is actually the dangerous part of the game. If you're attacking to Necropolis and your opponent is trying to take your Acolytes down, that's usually a big win. Here comes the Lich, moves back here, and gets a bit of damage for his efforts. There's a Nova on the other hand, and that actually keeps him at bay for just a second. Can he close the distance to get another hit in? Nope. Ah, he actually did. Nicely done. But MadFrog with a counter. Now! Nice! Dark Ritual being used by LexLuther to deny the experience. Really nice micro from him. MadFrog was just about to get the kill, but now he didn't get anything for his efforts. But the only, well, one thing was definitely accomplished through the attack that we just saw from MadFrog. He burned the town portal on the side of LexLuther. So that is definitely now one of those circumstances where you have to be very, very careful when you're LexLuther, just simply because you won't be able to move away if your opponent creep checks you at any point. So you need to be a little bit more cautious, depending on what camp you're trying to attack here. So that was definitely one of the things that MadFrog achieved, even though he also lost 2 ghouls in the process. One of the things to also consider here, and why MadFrog went for the attack in the first place, is that during attack, if you lose Acolytes who are very, very much exposed on the Undead side, the problem is that you can't build Acolytes while you're attacking, so you have only 2 choices. Either you can complete the attack and in the meantime just accept that you will have less Acolytes and less mining, or you cancel the tech, which means that you don't have that available as soon as or at the same time that your opponent probably will, and then you might be in trouble too. So something that is highly important with those things for sure. MadFrog still with a little battle on the Lich on the other side. Both of them by now also have the boots of speed, so we actually saw LexLuther getting boots for himself. And he has now the Staff of Teleportation, which allows him to react a bit more nimble to attacks in the main base. Which is actually highly important, because once the town portal is used, MadFrog could definitely try and just poke and prod that main base even a little bit more, and just simply hope that his opponent won't be able to react to it at all. When it comes to experience, on the other hand, MadFrog is still behind, and obviously the same is also true for his items. You look at the items that he has, he doesn't really have anything. He took a bit of, well, he didn't really take a lot here, but we're having level 2 already on the side of his opponent. MadFrog now with a bit of ghoul only creeping right up here to the top, trying to make sure that he at least gets level 2 and the Dark Ritual, which is now the case. But we're already seeing at the same time the Death Knight coming in for him at least. Level 3 on the Lich for his opponent, on the other hand. Ghoul's still around. There's a bit of a scout just trying to see if maybe something else is happening there. Okay. Quick attempt to get more damage onto the Lich, and so far successful. Lich might be level 3. But 196 point is not 196 hit points is not really a whole lot to have here. So once again, the attacks are starting to come in from the auto attacking, but with the Death Knight now also coming out for LexLuther, and the attack into tier 3 already started. That means that we obviously have the DK with the power to get a quick death call through and heal everything up. MadFrog right now also with a quick attack into tier 3, not making any moves to go into gargoyles this time. We're seeing him with Cannibalize being researched in the crypt. So definitely going to be able to either use that after a fight, or more importantly, if he wants to send a few ghouls around and just creep while the 2 heroes are harassing the shit out of LexLuther, then he can use that too in order to just keep those ghouls in play. And that's something we're going to see from him in just a bit. For now, we're actually seeing the attack against the Ogre Warrior over here. Forest Troll Warlord obviously also about to drop a pretty big one. If that attack is not hitting, and let's see who gets the experience here, because MadFrog of course has plans on his own, trying to get a few kills in here. Coil comes in, and nicely done. Death Knight has to rush away, but MadFrog, he's just trying to occupy his opponent as much as he can. And in the meantime, with Cannibalize, we now have those attacks that we talked about. So MadFrog has to jump between, actually micro that back. Ooh, gets blocked, ooh, and it barely keeps the ghoul alive. Has a Death Knight around too, which actually means that all of the experience goes to the Death Knight now. There's a bit of an experience rule in WarCraft 3. If you have a hero very close to the camps that are taken, then the experience is going to that one hero. If both heroes are far away, then the experience is shared. If both heroes are close, the experience is shared too. It's pretty much a golden rule of Warcraft 3 here. So the experience from that particular camp went straight to the Death Knight. LexLuther, on the other hand, he's still taking the bigger camps, and is now also, with a SWE mask and a potion of lesser invulnerability, in a pretty good spot there too. Lesser invulnerability, super important, especially of course for the Death Knight, not so much for the Lich, because Lich can get coiled, not the other way around. Third hero is going to be interesting on both sides, once it comes into play. For now we're having just double hero each, and MadFrog is finally deciding that it's time to creep a couple of bigger camps as well, and starting to move in straight to the Goblin Laboratory up to the top. Down to the bottom, still a bit of scouting with the Ghoul. Could take that down. Orb of Corruption already in the inventory for the Lich on LexLuther's side. Really important here for him, obviously. You want to have that armor reduction. And as you can see right now, Tomb of Intelligence, Robo the Magi, great items for the Lich. Adds also some extra damage to the auto attacks that we're having for him. There's an Orb of Corruption for him too. So he's going to play around this and has actually now the same damage output as his opponent, if I'm not mistaken, thanks to the claws. Plus 11, okay, plus 13 on the side of LexLuther because he has the Circlet of Nobility as well. But yeah, 40 supply for Lex. We're currently seeing 37 for MadFrog. Both of them pretty close. I mean, it is a mirror after all. But we're now just looking at what items are gonna be had by those two. Are we going to see an expansion attempt eventually? More so likely after a fight. Tomb of Strength now for the Death Knight, boosting his main attribute a little bit more. The primary, in this case, backed into Parry of Vitality, which means that we have a few more hit points also. Tank Death Knights, will be harder to take him down. At the bottom of the map, what do we have for Lex? He actually gets the Wand of Mana Stealing. Another good item for him as well. Trying to, of course, keep the opponent's Death Knight out of mana is going to do quite a lot here. We have the first Shade in play for Lex, and both of them are just still trying to go through the motions here. And nobody has crossed into low upkeep. They're actually far from it yet. We're having the Dark Ranger taken as the third hero. And that comes just as MadFrog is entering the arena down here to the bottom, and it could be a bit of a problem. If you play Dark Ranger third, you're obviously going to try and play a lot around Silence in particular, that you're trying to drop on the Death Knight when you're making a move on the Lich, or vice versa. On the Lich, just to avoid some of those Novas, like we see right here. And here comes the Silence already. Tries to get the first one through, and that's the end of the Ghoul. Perfect showcase of how you play around Silence. You get some units low, you drop a Silence with a Dark Ranger, and you obliterate the unit. Nicely done here by MadFrog as well, though. Gets the Nova through, drops one Ghoul on the side of his opponent, and the coil that the Death Knight sent out hits nothing but dead air. So, now with 49 supply against 44, we're having still items, I would say a bit of an advantage for Lex. The level 3 Lich definitely helps. No triple hero just yet on the other side. Items being sold, get some extra money in. There comes the Town Portal and finds the Scourge Bone Chimes. It's a pretty good item, but it depends obviously a bit on the hero composition that you play and the item composition that you're running. And right now, mainly the Death Knight and the few ghouls that he has at the front are benefiting from that item. Once that we're seeing abominations potentially in the game, it's a different story, but that's definitely something where you would say like, other stuff would have been maybe a little bit better. But he just got a Town Portal, and that's the important part now again. Town Portal comes in, Ghoul Frenzy is also through, one ghoul goes down, one ghoul for Town Portal, two ghouls for Town Portal, three ghouls for Town Portal. Okay, hashtag not worth it. In terms of gold, it's roughly the same amount, but obviously there's also the added experience that you get by taking those ghouls down that have to be calculated in, so that makes this a bit more tricky. Dreadlord third, going straight for the sleep. MadFrog likes the Dreadlords, and well, let's face it, who doesn't? So we're gonna see a bit of sleep action around those plays, and then potential Carrion Swarm then later on, so that's another one to definitely watch out for. In terms of experience, no expansion by the way yet. In terms of experience, 3-2-1 on the heroes on the side of MadFrog, 3-3-1 for Lex, so slight advantage there. But this is really the moment where you're just trying to get additional experience, you're trying to get a few more items, you're trying to creep a little bit more, you're building up, you're trying to get also eventually a couple of upgrades in. Orb of Darkness, level 3 for the Death Knight. No shade, by the way, for MadFrog here. Let's double check. Actually gets another crypt in, so that puts him on double crypt for now. There's no upgrades outside of the +1 attack upgrade for his ghouls just yet. Whereas we're seeing, I think, no upgrades at all for his opponent. Yep, pretty much. A few more ghouls now in the mix, and the Vampiric Aura can definitely help here slightly. Down there. There's one Acolyte still missing. Ooh, wow. One Acolyte down, sends it over, has to build one. Has he actually forgotten to reproduce the Acolyte? It looks pretty much like it. I feel that bad boy ended up in the wrong group. Okay, so he builds one now. Builds one Acolyte, and now let's see how he uses the other one. Is he actually going to try and set an expansion up there somewhere? That's another question. First of all, the chase is on down here as the Novas are coming through. There's the sleep against the Death Knight. Why the Death Knight? Death Knight is the one with the speed aura. To sleep him, and the rest of your army is going to have an easier time to run away because your opponent will have to wake the Death Knight up first before he can benefit from the speed boost again. So that's the thought process here. Take down the Lich for a second as well. You know, pretty much guaranteed that you survive with your Obsidian statue, unless that stupid Dreadlord runs straight ahead of it and starts to body block the shit out of it. That is normally then a pretty bad moment. And MadFrog, does he save it? Yeah, but close. That's actually something that you should either transform into a destroyer or repair, because in a fight, this is not going to make it. That is actually a really, really annoying shade that we have there. Well, there comes the fight. No, Flova comes in through. 56 supply against 54 right now. Destroyer's already on the ground. The silence is immediately hitting the Death Knight and the Dreadlord, and at the same time, we're having the double upgrade now on the side of Lex as he's going up with the Ranger and gets the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability in as well. First Destroyer about to go down though, and especially the upgrades here on the side of the Dreadlord. Obviously, he's going to help a lot as well. One Fiend after another drops as MadFrog still on 48 supply against the 44 is trying to force the TP, does force the TP, and gets another quick kill against the Fiend here for his troubles. Lex going down to 41 supply. MadFrog sitting at 58 right now, winning the fight quite handily for the time being, drawing a lot of items out of his opponent. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability had to be used, so did the Town Portal. Had a couple of kills in it as well, and this is definitely a great start into the game for MadFrog here. Got the upgrades, 250 supply for him, still in the no upkeep, and immediately focusing attention on a few additional creep spots on the map, while Lex now has for the third time in the game to buy a Town Portal here. But for MadFrog, this is definitely a great start. Starts to start creeping, gets also a Potion of Greater Healing for his troubles. Ton of sustain now on these heroes. And in addition to that, Lex at least branching out towards the side, saying, guys, I need to do something here. But you can see how that Death Knight has already taken quite the beating, and that's a huge problem. There are no statues on the side of Lex at this point. Gets the Lionhorn of Stormwind. That bad boy is so lucky when it comes to items, at least to, generally speaking, aura items. But right now, he's behind by quite a bit, and MadFrog is actually going for an expansion up here. The interesting part is that we had Lex already sending his own Acolyte out earlier, as we talked about, to get this spot, and that's something that MadFrog actually crapped. MadFrog went to creep that. Oh, baby! Staff of Silence. That ain't too bad either. That's a great item here, actually, for MadFrog. But I kind of doubt that he's ever going to scout this, or scout it anytime soon, because he has no reason to go there again. That's a great spot for an expansion for Lex. And that makes the game quite interesting here. But you look over into the money and just look at how much money MadFrog is currently amassing here. Sitting at 1,500. He could open up a Swiss bank account if he wanted. Whereas we are having LexLuther already cross into the no upkeep, Tomb of Experience, and the Lionhorn of Stormwind as well. Alright, MadFrog, calm down, buddy. I mean, seriously. First, Frostworm is also in play as they're going straight to the top left right now, trying to creep a little bit more. When it comes to the heroes, we now have a 4 Lich on both sides. MadFrog trying to double check what's happening down there. Could even creep that spot. He himself a little bit late on the expansion. But definitely now as he crosses into the low upkeep, still holds the record number when it comes to the XP. That Shade comes still in. Bit of a fight down there. Sees also the Boneyard, knows what's happening around that. Sees the Gargoyles as well, and now has to adjust his own composition, of course, too. He knows definitely what he's up against at this point. And up to the top left, what does MadFrog has? He is still going into Destroyers. He's not looking at anything else. Expansion has been scouted here by Lex, but there's not a single Acolyte doing things. The problem for Lex is that by now MadFrog has actually sniffed out the expansion and is starting to take the Acolytes down. Spirit Tower, no Spirit Tower. MadFrog doesn't give a shit. He just goes for it, sends it in, moves them in and out to just change the target the entire time, and takes the Acolytes one after another and kills pretty much all of them. A couple of the ghouls go down, but with the Cannibalize, they're actually buying the time for the rest of the ghouls to get the quick kills. And that's an easy one. Position yourself in the back of it and you can easily take down that expansion. MadFrog in a great spot right now. Absolutely fantastic spot for him. 59 supply, 1,200 gold, 60 supply on the side of LexLuther. and he will have to make a play there soon. Now MadFrog is now slowly saturating the base up to the top with his own acolytes, but Lex is not going to get any mining from this right now. And still more creeping for MadFrog. And MadFrog is currently sitting at a Death Knight on level 4. We have that Dreadlord already on level 3. And with a Dreadlord on 3, we actually see him with the level 2 sleep now as well. That makes it a lot cheaper when it comes to the mana costs, obviously. Could buy a couple of additional items, especially when we're talking about Scrolls of Healing. There's still a big army that we see on the side of his opponent, so he needs to be careful. But continuous poke with Novas is going to wreck those ghouls regardless. You're trying to keep your destroyers alive, of course, but those ghouls are already in trouble. Especially, and that's more so the important part. Yeah, there's another big one. Needs to keep the Lich alive. There's a Lich actually, that's the second Nova that comes in. Still has a potion of greater healing that he could use. Frost Worms with the slow. There's another quick coil. The slows are still in. Could pass the potion over. Potion of greater healing is right here. And he uses Down Portal instead. Down Portal being used. MadFrog taps out. Still 1,300 for him. And obviously now the attack towards the expansion. 57 supply against 61. They're starting to go for it. Left side of the map. In the meantime, let's look at the ghouls again. Currently, upgrades for them. Still the 1-0. MadFrog, is he going to abandon this? He's going to make the play for the bottom right now. He's actually just starting to go for the attack himself. Has bowed himself also a potion of mana. Expansion up to the top right by Lex is still harvesting, or harvesting again. But this one isn't looking too good. At this point, we're just seeing Lex trying to do his thing. He has a Scroll of Town Portal too, so he can always TP back. And that's exactly, obviously, what MadFrog is trying to force here. He's going for the Acolytes again. He's going to try and take down the economy of his opponent one after another. And there's no hiding anymore now. Here comes the Nova. That's the kill. All of the Acolytes about to go down. Town Portal already being used on the side of MadFrog, as we're seeing Lex moving in, trying to get another counter kill. Down goes the Acolyte, and that's all 5 eliminated. Town Portals exchange, but at least the gold mine has been taken out right there. At the same time, expansion here, harvesting once again pretty nicely. MadFrog still sitting at 900 gold. On the other hand, we're seeing LexLuther on 180. MadFrog definitely needs to get a little bit more out there. Destroyers on 1-1 upgrades right now. But you look over to the hero levels, and MadFrog definitely having the upper hand. And now he's done with this shit. He's saying, okay, I'm going to go for the expansion. I'm going to take the entire thing. 62 supply against 60. Still quite close when it comes to that. Once again, they're starting to move in. No Town Portal on the side of MadFrog. He definitely is committed to the fight right now. No idea why he didn't buy a Town Portal. That guy had way too much gold, but he has no TP. MadFrog has to battle the fight, and he has good chances, but still taking a huge risk here. Going again for the Death Knight, trying to follow that up completely. And on the supply side, MadFrog is dropping. He's dropping fast. He's down to 46. The sleep comes in once again. Where's the Nova? He needs another one. Doesn't have it right now. Nova goes in against the Lich, actually. They're still chasing this one. And here comes the next sleep. They're going in, and the Death Knight is doomed. Down goes the DK. Once again, though, the pressure play against the Death Knight on the other side. MadFrog with another coil ready. As the silence comes just a second too late. LexLuther with a great move there. But the silence from the Dark Ranger came in too late, and therefore he goes down. MadFrog with 1,000 gold. He's only at 200 wood though. 34 supply for him. MadFrog needs a Goblin Shredder, and he needs to spend his money. Buy items, buddy. Level 4 for his Dreadlord, level 4 for the Death Knight. The fight rages on. 27 supply against 43. MadFrog has money, but he is still having some trouble. He is still in supply. He's still far behind. Expansion is harvesting for Lex up at the top. MadFrog doesn't even rebuild this one. He needs wood, and he needs it quickly. Could send something over to buy himself a shredder at the shop, and he doesn't do that. Massive reliance right now from the Swedish Undead player onto his heroes, but the Death Knight is in trouble. Oh, and might barely get away. There's the quick potion of lesser invulnerability, and the Nova as MadFrog loses his hero. MadFrog currently his own worst enemy. The expansion is gone, and MadFrog taps out. GG as Lex takes this series with a 2-0 victory.